Hey there, and welcome back to another edition of Common Knowledge, the show where I take a look at 10 common Magic the Gathering cards, and then I'll tell you if they're any good in the Pauper format or not. Let's see what our first card of the day is. It's Deepwood Ghoul. 2 and a black for a 2/1 zombie. You can pay 2 life and regenerate this creature. Oh, it's not good, is it? In fact, I'm pretty sure we've done this one before, but it's been a while. This is a bad card. 3 mana for a 2/1. Is bad. That's worse than Scathe Zombies, which is already a pretty bad card. The ability is okay. Paying 2 life to regenerate this creature. I mean, again, the creature's bad, so regenerating this creature isn't a big deal. Not something I really care about. But I suppose, if you are a deck that wants to pay a lot of life, this is not Pauper at this point. This is talking about like Commander, I suppose. But if you're a deck that needs to pay a lot of life and then make all the other opponents' life totals, you bring it down to your size, or you swap life totals with an opponent. This is just a free pay life trigger. You can probably find better free pay life triggers in Commander. In fact, I guarantee it. But for the Pauper format, this is really just, hey, you can take 2 life instead of 5 life if the Tolarian Terror is coming at you. You could just keep blocking with this guy. And, obviously you can't do it forever. It's losing you life each time. But it's losing you less life than if one of those big creatures hit you. You're in black, though. You should remove those creatures. Yeah, this is pretty awful. We're going to go for a 1.9. I don't want to quite give it a 2. No, maybe it does get a 2. Yeah, okay. It can get a 2. I'm fine with that. Next up is Aethersworn Shield Mage, which is 1 in Azorius, or a white and a blue. For a 2/2 artifact creature, Vidalcan Wizard. It's got Flash, and when this creature enters, prevent all damage that would be dealt to artifact creatures this turn. Okay, sure. So you can flash it in, blank an opponent's attack, kind of similar to the ghoul that we just saw, in a way. But a 2/2 with Flash for 3 mana, and you got to pay the Azorius mana, so you got to have the right pips for it. This is not great. I mean, it does prevent damage that would be dealt to all artifact creatures this turn. Wait, we dealt to artifact creatures this turn. So not even yours and your opponents. Maybe that isn't good. It's not quite a fog. Yeah, you can play a whole lot more artifacts than your opponent, I guess, but affinity's in the format, and then it is just kind of having things bounce off each other. What you'd really like is to be able to blow your opponent out by blocking with a bunch of your artifact creatures, and then flashing this into, or I guess they attack, you flash this in, now you block with a bunch of your artifact creatures, including this. No damage comes to those creatures, and then you can do all the damage to your opponent's creatures. But it's still not very good. We just have fog in the format, and even this is playing white, so you could play what's the Kamigawa white fog that's out there? Ethereal Haze. It's not a perfect one, but there are ways of getting fog style effects in white and blue. So I don't really see it on this card. Art's nice, but outside of that, I don't really see it. I'll go for a 2.4. Yeah, I think a 2.4 is fine. I like the flash speed. Anaba Ancestor. We've definitely done this one before too, because I think I commented, "Hey, this is a rare card that got downshifted to common in only an online set." So, the only copy you can get in paper. It's a rare card, but it's probably not a great card, which is why it's been dropped down to common at this point. Anaba Ancestor is 1 and a red for a 1/1 Minotaur Spirit. You can tap it, and another target Minotaur gets +1/+1 until end of turn. That's really bad. Not a whole lot of Minotaurs that you want to be playing in the format to begin with. There are some changelings that I suppose you could use this with. I really hate that it says another target. If it could target itself, Well, it would still be bad. If it targeted itself, it would just be, sometimes a grizzly bear. But I guess it would at least have the ability to still buff up another minotaur slash changeling. But if you could block with this and then tap it to give itself the +1/+1, so it's still a 2/2, it would still just be bad. It would still just be bad. This is like a 1.5. That's a really bad card. Really, really bad card. Savage Smash is 1 and Gruel, so a red and a green. For a sorcery, target creature you control gets +2/+2 until end of turn. It fights target creature you don't control. Nah, this isn't gonna work. We've just gotten so many cards that eclipse this thing at this point. 3 mana and having to do it in Gruel instead of just green is not great. We have green effects that kind of just do this already. This is sorcery speed. This is a fight effect instead of a bite effect. The +2/+2 is fine, but it's not good enough that I wouldn't just play Ram Through. Ram Through is 1 and a green, instant speed. It's a bite effect, and it could potentially even do more damage to the opponent if your creature has trample, I think. And if you do excess damage, it's a little conditional, but that part doesn't matter. you don't play Ram Through for that part. You play Ram Through because it's an instant speed bite effect for 2 mana. And when you see something like Savage Smash here, you go, why would I pay an extra mana of a different color and play this and be forced to only play this at sorcery speed? All I'm getting back in return is +2/+2. I just don't think that's anywhere near good enough. I mean, it's still a okay-ish removal spell, but I can't give it anything higher than like a 2.2. I don't like this card at all, and you will never play it in the Pauper format. You've got so many other options outside of Ram Through. I mean, there's the Duskmourn one that's pretty good. I mean, you just have way better options. Rugged Highlands, the Gain Lands. It's a land that enters tapped. When this land enters, you gain 1 life, and it taps for red or green. We have this for all the 2-color combinations. They're all fine. They are... we should probably sometime do like a ranking of dual lands as a separate video. That could be kind of fun for the Pauper format specifically. The Gain Lands are like somewhere in the middle. They're okay. They don't have the basic land type, so you can't go search for them with the mana or with the land cyclers. The deserts do damage to an opponent, which is pretty good. The artifact bridges are 1 artifacts and 2 indestructible. You got a lot of other options available to you. There's snow lands that can work. There are snow duels that can work. There's both snow duels without land types and snow duels with land types. You really only play the ones with the land types. Again, so you can tutor for them or search for them with the land cyclers. But the Gain Lands are fine. Like these are like the most normal lands I can imagine still being played in the Pauper format. Usually, you wouldn't play more than maybe 1 or 2 copies. Ortsov Blade sometimes plays this because they can bounce this as a permanent back to their hand and then replay it to gain another life. Not amazing, and there are other lands that you might bounce instead, but this at least has the land types, or it can have the land types if you play the Scoured Barons, I believe is the white and black one, that it can give you some extra value getting your colors, but also gaining you a life on entering. And yeah, okay. These are like a 7.5, which, I mean, that's a pretty high score for something I am very blasé about, but they're dual lands, so they're automatically good. It's just kind of where you land on that for the format. These are solid. I like the Gain Lands a decent amount, and I think we've done them. I think we've done them before. Said that about 3, maybe even 4 cards that we've seen so far. But Gain Lands are fine. Deface is a single red mana for a sorcery. Choose 1, destroy target artifact, or destroy target creature with Defender. Well, it's a cheaper Shatter. It is at sorcery speed, but it is a cheaper Shatter, and I guess the Defender part works against Turbo Fog decks or or even spy decks because they're playing a lot of defender creatures, and you wouldn't play this card for that though. I suppose it does work against artifact heavy decks or any deck that plays artifacts really, which is quite a few in the Pauper format, or those other defender decks that are there. These are just this is not good enough. This is, despite being modal, this is too narrow. These effects are just not quite good enough to spend a single mana on, especially at sorcery speed. I could go as high as a 2.5 though. Yeah, I think a 2.5 seems fair. Mistmoon Griffin is 3 and a white for a 2/2 Griffin with flying, and when this creature dies, you exile it, then return the top creature of your graveyard to the battlefield. So if you play this, you do have to worry about the order of your graveyard. You can't manipulate it in such a way and then make the Mistmoon Griffin die just to get the right creature back at the top. That would be illegal. A lot of people, because wizards themselves have mostly phased out any sort of creature or any sort of card that cares about the order of your graveyard. So generally, as long as you're not playing any one of these cards, you can just shuffle your graveyard around as needed, which I think is better because there are just a bunch of cards that, hey, this card has flashback. I want to put this on top of my library so I remember that it has flashback. Or I was actually just playing a commander game last night where I had a Death Bridge? I think it's Death Bridge chant. I guess I can look that up. Death Bridge. Well, you got to spell it right first. That is somewhat important. Well, it's not Death Bridge. It must be Dead Bridge. Yeah, there you go. Dead Bridge chant. So you mill 10 cards, and at the beginning of your upkeep, you choose a random card in your graveyard. So at that point, I would shuffle to make it random for my opponents. I would shuffle my graveyard and keep it face down, and then they could choose the card from it. But if you have to care about the order of your graveyard, then you got to figure out, okay, how do I, do you get enough dice? Do you put it in some kind of calculator thing or some kind of randomizer on your phone that says, hey, I've got 20 cards in my graveyard, pick a number 1 through 20. I guess you could do these things, but sometimes it's easier just to say, I don't know, shuffle up my graveyard and there you go. Because it shouldn't matter. But if you're playing Mistmoon Griffin, now it does matter. And now you'd have to play it in a very specific way. I don't think you should play this card. It's not good enough. 4 mana for a 2/2 flyer is pretty bad already. And then this having to have a dies trigger on it, you can find sacrifice effects and things that allow you to have a better opportunity of when you want this to happen. But your opponent can also force your hand by killing this creature at an inopportune time for you. And then that sucks. I don't like putting more power into my opponent's hand if I can help it. And this card, it already has a lot going against it, and that's just kind of an extra nail in the coffin that now I have to be beholden to when this thing dies instead of it being an Ender's trigger or an activated ability or something. You have to exile the creature. It does exile from the graveyard, though. Like, this dies, so it goes to the graveyard, and then it exiles itself. So there are some cards that care about cards leaving the graveyard. This, I guess, would work with that. And it would work with it twice, because it would take the top creature card from your graveyard. It does say to the battlefield. Did I say to the library or to the battlefield? Because it is the battlefield. That's better, I guess. So if you mill, or discard or sacrifice some kind of creature and then put this out and then get it back, it's still going through a bunch of hoops that I think we just don't have to do. We have Dread Return in the format. We have other cards in the format that can do this kind of effect. But I suppose going to the battlefield can let you cheat some big costs. There's something kind of to it. I can give it a 2.8. It's still not a very good card, though. 4 mana for a 2/2 flyer. there's a lot of graveyard hate in the format. Your opponent could exile your graveyard and then kill this thing, and then you get no extra value out of it. This is also not a May trigger, so you have to exile it. So this thing kind of just gets one life. Kind of like it has a finality counter on it. Interesting, but not good. Quicksand is a land that taps for a colorless, but it also taps where you can sacrifice this land and target attacking creature without flying gets -1/-2 until end of turn. That's kind of cool. Getting your land to have removal. There's some colors that wouldn't mind that, like a blue deck that now just has access to some kind of creature removal. Pretty sweet. Not something that blue normally gets to do. I mean, I don't know. I don't hate it. It could just kill a creature. It could make a creature a lot smaller. You'd have to lose the land though, which is a little bit of a disappointment. And the real problem, I think, is that we just have another card that kind of does this a little bit, but just better. And that's Desert, normal Desert, which is Pauper legal, as the original Arabian Nights is a common card. But this can tap to deal a damage to target attacking creatures. It's just 1 damage, but you don't have to lose the land at this point now. Desert's really good about stopping fairies and some other go wide decks that have lots of tiny creatures. So Desert's a pretty solid card that sometimes sees some play in Pauper. Quicksand, it's interesting. It is interesting. We've gotten a couple interesting cards back to back here, but I don't think Quicksand is quite good enough to really see play. Maybe something to consider, though. It is an untapped land, and then it has that extra ability. I mean, it could discourage an opponent from attacking a turn or two, and that gives you some interesting tempo. I don't know. I kind of like it. I am still going to give it something like a. Usually I save the 5 and above for something that is actually played in Pauper. But I think I'm happy because this is a land. Lands kind of skew the gauge a little bit because they are kind of always playable. And I generally don't like giving lands bad scores because they make mana. those are things that you need in your deck. I'm going to give this thing a 5.6. Yeah, I think I justified it a little bit. I don't think this. Oh, I know this doesn't see any Pauper play right now. I could see a deck playing a one-off, maybe. Maybe. I don't know. It's interesting. I like Quicksand. That's a cool card. Fate Transfer is 1 and a hybrid Dimir, so a blue or a black. For an instant, move all counters from target creature onto another target creature. We are getting some cool cards, some pretty narrow effects, but narrow can be interesting. You don't see this effect. I have not seen this effect on many other cards. You have things like Nesting Grounds that can move a counter, but that's moving a counter from one of your creatures to one of your other creatures. There are some other things that can move counters from a creature to another creature. There are some cards that can remove counters from an opponent's creature but not necessarily transfer them to yours. This is kind of the only one that I've seen that could potentially move a bunch of counters from your opponent's creature if they have a, and also it just says all counters, so it could be not only +1/+1 counters, but if they get some kind of lifelink counter or flying counter from whatever they've got, you can get those counters too, which is kind of cool. But also, if for some reason you are playing some Lorwyn Eclipsed cards and you've got some -1/-1 counters on your creatures, you could use this as a way of taking those off yours and putting them onto opponent's creatures. This would be really cool with finality counters. We were just talking about finality counters on the last card. You move a finality counter from one of your guys onto one of your opponent's creatures, so then it gets exiled when it when it dies, and your creature doesn't. That's cool. That's cool. There are some cool elements to this. Mostly, though, this is kind of a wasted card because the effect is so narrow. You have to set it up so perfectly, And even then, you probably have better things you can do on any one of your turns than play this card and move some counters. That there are going to be really cool, devastating plays that you do with this that make you think, well, I don't know, it can be really good in these very specific situations. But those situations are so specific that I just don't think we can play it in a deck, even if we are building around it. I can't justify it. It's fun though. I do like fun. And for the funness, I think I can give it a 2.4. It doesn't sound very fun, but it's better than what the card really deserves. I can promise you that. Our final official card of the day is Hazard of the Dunes. It's a worm. I love worms. 3 and a green for a 4/4 worm with reach and trample, and it also has exhaust for 6 and a green, which is to put 3 +1/+1 counters on this creature. Exhaust means that you can activate that ability only once for per instance of the card. So you could, if you blinked this card, that'd be a little silly because you'd lose the counters that were on it, but then I guess you could pay 7 and put the counters on it all over again. There is something kind of fun with the not modality exactly. This is not a modal card, but this is a card that can grow along with your board. So it's something you can play in the mid game. Hey, here's 4 mana. I put in a 4/4 trample reach. That's not a bad stat line. I don't hate that for 4 mana. And then as the game goes on, maybe you're in some kind of ramp deck and you're getting your mana pretty quickly. If you have 7 mana, maybe you're in Tron. You know, we've certainly seen worms in Tron before. Bramble Worm is a Tron staple-ish card. It's in most Monster Tron decks for sure. But you know, you can get to 7 mana pretty easily in Tron, and now this thing becomes a 7/7 reach and trample, and that is kind of just what Bramble Worm is, but better because it's got an extra point of toughness at that point. But I guess it doesn't gain you the 5, and if it goes in your graveyard, it doesn't gain you the 5 again. So, you know, I love the art on this one. I love a good worm, and this is a decent one. This was probably pretty good in limited. I did not play Ether Drift limited because I thought that set looked not so much like a set I would want to play. There are some good cards in there though. Can't deny that. Hazard of the Dunes, you're okay. I'm going to give you a 2.9. Let's do a bonus card, which is Frozen Shade, which we've done before. And this one I remember doing vividly, so we've definitely done this one before. I like Frozen Shade. We'll give it a quick run through before I skip over to another card. But it also has, yeah, this is the art that I remember. I like this art. Don't get me wrong. I think the Dietra Lizzie art is really good, but the old art, you know, it's pretty good art. 4th edition, then 5th edition. Yeah, good stuff here. Frozen Shade's cool. 200 black for a 0/1 shade. You can pay a black, and this creature gets +1/+1 until end of turn. Black used to get this a lot. It was kind of like a fire breathing, but it gives you the points of toughness too. Obviously, very mana intensive. You are paying a lot of mana to be able to make your creature decent. But late in the game, you know, we just talked about the Hazard of the Dunes that grows with you. This card really does grow with you in that the more mana you play, I guess as long as it can make black mana, but the more lands you play, the more mana sources you have, the bigger this thing can be as it swings in. So it could, you know, if you have a couple mana, make it into a 2/3, and then later in the game when you've got 8 mana available to you, this thing becomes an 8/9. You just kind of keep swinging in with a ever increasing sized creature. It doesn't have evasion, which is a kind of a bummer, but I don't know. There's something I kind of like about Frozen Shade. It's not Pauper playable. It's like a 2.5, but I like it. Let's skip over though and do another bonus card and see if we get something that we haven't gotten before. Incinerate. There you go. Incinerate's 1 in red for an instant. Incinerate deals 3 damage to any target. A creature dealt damage this way can't be regenerated this turn. I don't remember seeing the Chandra art before, but I am definitely very familiar with Incinerate. Not that printing either. I need older. I like Ice Age. Yeah, Ice Age. This Ice Age art. That's the one. That's the Incinerate to me. these guys are incinerating. There's no doubt about that. But then also this Mirage art I remember quite a bit too. So there's some good incinerates out there, but they've now mostly gone to this Chandra style, or I guess this is also Chandra in a way. Well, she's at least talking, so maybe it's somebody she's incinerating. Um, Incinerate, not a bad card, not a bad card. It's a lightning strike, but the creature can't be regenerated, which not something you really have to worry about in this format. And it's not going to get around a sneaky snacker or something. You need the suplex or something to deal damage, and then if it would die, it exiles the creature instead. So incinerate, you know, I guess it stops that ghoul that we saw at the beginning of the episode. But outside of that, there's not a whole lot of other creatures in the format that are regenerating. Not a lot of cards that you would play to regenerate your creatures. There's like Wrap and Vigor and things like that are sometimes played as a way of regenerating creatures and keeping them alive. And I suppose this stops that, but it's not that good, and it's no lightning bolt. That is the real problem. It can hit creatures or players. I do like that, but yeah, you just have better options for burn style effects in the Pauper format. So incinerate, while I have some great fondness for it, it's not a very good card. I think we can give it something like a 3.2. It is still a solid, decent little piece of removal, but we just have better options. That's it for today. I'll catch you on the next one. See ya.